Greetings, everyone. I wanted to look at this, have this video look at signal phrases and verbs, those analytical verbs. So, verbs that would lead to analysis. Okay, we'll look at those first, and I want to show you an example from what looks like a pretty good resource here for you. So this is continuing to look at signal phrases, and this is a source that you can use. It's not one that that I would necessarily say is the right one, but it shows a really good example of some of these signal phrases in action. It phrases their kind of characterization of why you would use signal phrases here to avoid the monotony. So right here. To avoid the monotony, vary the signal phrases used to integrate quotations. Some of theirs are a little bit more, not cliche, but they are frequently used. For instance, in the words of. Like, that's kind of like saying, just saying, Samuel Johnson says. But it's a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more creative. Similarly, has noted is, similar to it. Here we're getting a little bit closer with points out. Claims is similar. Conceding is getting more specific, and it's probably the most specific. So if I could circle them, this would be kind of the most analytical thus far, because when you concede something, that's saying more than just what they said, but you're like, you're adding an idea to it. You're basically saying you have one, what was said, and then two, how you view it. Okay? And that's important because you realize that it's a concession on Sheffield's part. So, for instance, Sheffield answers her critics by conceding the proposal did not account sufficiently for the economic downturn. That's basically Sheffield saying, you know what, I didn't do enough. But the author, the writer, will tell you that simply by their verb choice here of conceding instead of Sheffield answer her critics by saying. That's like, I hope you can see the difference. There's a big difference between saying and conceding. As by saying conceding, you're saying a lot. You're saying all of this, not just this top part, okay? You're adding in this second part here, how you view it. And so I suppose, if you want to think about, look at these wonderful birds. Does that look like a bird or a flying book? I don't know. Let's give it some wings, a little quacky head. Oh man, it's just, oh gosh, that's a horrible bird. Is that a bird? I don't know. So let's say there's two of these wonderful birds, and then here's a big stone. Yeah, a good signal phrase. Yeah, boom. Two birds with one stone, okay? These are the two birds, alright? And I do not advocate the harming of any birds in this video. So, imagine these are pillows. Little rectangle pillows. So, let's scroll down a little bit and see, let's scroll down a little bit and see how how this would work here. So let me see if I can stop moving. There we go. Okay. This also shows a really great example of how signal phrases can be used within sentences, which is a little bit more advanced. So you see one here with there's the signal phrase. Similarly, here at the end of the sentence. And what's really great is I think that will help kind of unlock some possibilities for you, where you're like, oh my gosh, I felt like it was a locked lock. Look at this. Look at that crazy keyhole. Doesn't that look like a keyhole? Well, now look at this. It's like, wow. It's like, wow. The lock, it's unlocked. Yes. Happy face. All right. So remember, you can go in the middle, like you have quote, 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 or you have quote, quote, quote. Okay? So this is how you may have thought it had to be. But look at this. You say, oh my gosh, there's two, oh, whoops. All right, we'll say two first. Three choices. Yes. Yes. Fist pump right there. So, let's continue with this excitement here. As some of you may have realized, look at, I can scroll now. Yes. These are like kind of better choices. Not even all of them though, but you can see how it shows many of these verbs. I would, for instance, say that this is probably your bleh. It's like bleh, you know, bleh. You know, that's pretty. I mean, look at. Of course, he wrote it. If it's the author you're talking about, it's like you're saying the musician played. You're like, oh, really? You don't say. But here again, like let's go through and like mark out anyone else. This is a close one, but we'll leave it there. All right. Let's see. Now that one. Maybe we'll let notes sit there. But look it. I crossed out rights. Literally, it's kind of like, it's not really saying much. This one also. It's getting there, alright? But hopefully you can see the difference between the ones that I crossed out and the ones that I didn't. For instance, if you were to, oops, come on. There we go. If you were to come back up here and look at these words, when it talks about what was said right here, the number one, yeah, just imagine I'm pointing to it. Look at, there's new writing right there. Number one, that you can compare that to this kind of idea here. Oh my gosh. What was that? How did that erase? Oh, well, goodness, sorry. You can compare that to what we might see in, come on, scroll down. Well, goodness, there we go. Okay. You can compare what I had written there before I erased it with the similarity between, oh, look at, these verbs here, the ones that I've crossed out, only basically say what the person said, not how they said it, or not the manner in which they said it. So, for instance, I'm looking here and like comments would also perhaps be one that we could cross out. But at least with acknowledges, they're like, yeah, I'll give you that. Or adds, it's like, look at, that's showing something that they would add to. Admits, that's conciliatory. Agrees, that states something. Argues, asserts, denies, declares, contends, confirms. You can see the kind of, it says what you're introducing it as what they said, but also saying something about it. Okay, so as a final example, let me, boy, I'm just marking all over this, and I'm sorry. Oh my God, where did that come from? Okay, it must have cut and copied it. Now these are what I wanted to show you. Okay, whew, boy, get all that mess out of there. Mess. Grammatically, it wants to point out how this sentence here, this first one, is grammatically incorrect because the actual quoted material, which should finish the sentence, beginning here and ending here, breaks it. And here they attempt to correct it. Now, you again, if Brown's the author, it's kind of like, wow, great. So you're just pointing it out. So if you were to cite it this way, you would need to go into a lot more analysis, because right now you've said nothing but what they've said. Right here. Nothing. Okay? You haven't said anything beyond what they said. However, here, this at least says something. It describes, it'd be like how, it's kind of autobiographical in this sense, because Brown describes her childhood as happy and carefree, but she laments that it passed by too fast. Boom. So this is saying more than what was said in the quote. We saw the quote here first, and then we saw it corrected grammatically here, and then we saw it kind of broken up and used incredibly effectively. So here we get a lot. We get a lot said here. We get the quoted material plus what was said. Okay? So, I hope this was helpful, because I want you to remember that I don't want to go back to the mess, but you can have signal phrases at the beginning, at the middle, and at the end. And that ultimately you want to do these two things. You want to say what it says, so what, and then you could basically say like how or what else it says. Okay? Boy, that just looks bad. I need a sharper stylus. So I hope this is a good starter for you. Gives you some examples. I'm going to have a handout that has some more really awesome verbs, and then I'm going to have us practice a little bit. All right? A little bit of practice. But hopefully this is some good starter material for you. And hey, it's a new toolkit, right? It's a new toolkit, and I'm excited to see you guys start using it.